I just want to say that Twister is one of my favorite movies of all time. It is the only film out of any movie that I've seen over 50 times. I make a point to read
Wow.
since I was a kid, I watched this movie, and the reason I have such a bond with it is I grew up in a trailer park, and I was terrified of tornadoes.
I can
And by,
imagine.
and by watching Twister, because if a tornado came through the trailer park, we were done for. So I was always freaked out watching the news. I just had all this anxiety, and I would watch Twister because it almost helped me deal with that anxiety of like, if I can literally watch the worst possible scenario of what could happen, it kind of helped me work through that. So that is why I've seen it so many times.
Oh wow, wow, wow. That's amazing. I never heard somebody sing it for 50 times, but that's pretty amazing. That must be a record, Mike. That must be but the funny thing is that it is still a very watchable movie. It still feel like it could happen today. And the way it is filmed, the excitement and the cast, they all like still today's people. They're not like from a different period, even though it's 30 years ago. I think that's why it's so relatable. It's very relatable, this movie. I mean, everybody can see themselves more or less being a storm chaser, being wannabe dad. Everybody likes danger in some to some degree, but most wouldn't want to go that far. But people who are really willing to go in cars and drive towards the net, that's a pretty insane situation. And but they exist, and they love it, but they love the science behind it too. I was surprised when I met a lot of them. That is not only the fun, it's not only the adrenaline that it creates. It's also really like really want to see and photograph it and show to people, and that was really pretty surprising to really see that happen. It's really great.
And I think the other thing is it's not just a movie about people chasing tornadoes. It's also a story of like all these people who are just friends, but also the story of Bill and Joe of him going there to get the paper signed. That's the whole reason he shows up back there. And you have that thread throughout the entire movie of the tension between them. I think it's something I probably didn't appreciate as a kid, but as an adult, I understood it and how that was the story. You could almost make a movie where you take away the twisters and it's just Bill and Joe.
You could make a movie like that, but it wouldn't be as exciting, I think, as this
Yeah.
trailer. But no, but of course that is true. Of course, that whole idea of the team and how they get along and the relationship to Bill and Helen, that was the story, that was the plot, and how that kind of they start to intermingle more and more and more, and because seeing that happen, that's also because they got closer again. Of course, when you both in danger and your other people have to come and help you, it's changed relationships, it's changed bonds. So
And when
I
it
think
comes
that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
when it comes to just the camaraderie that you feel from the cast, I think the best example of that is the breakfast scene where everybody's just there having literally what looks like the best meal ever. And you just feel that bond between everybody. Everybody gets their moment to shine. Everybody's getting in their jokes. What was it like filming that scene? Was it a much larger scene that was cut down to what we saw in the movie, or was it all on the page?
It was most of it was on the page, and also quite a bit was improvised. Because I told him I said, this is okay if you step on somebody's line. If you want to say, just jump in, and then you can come back to that later. And I let that all happen. And when you have a bunch of people that get along really well, they are fine with that. They wouldn't get mad at you if you step on somebody's line. They would just come back later. And so I really wanted that to happen. I said, don't be afraid. And it's a fun scene. It has to be a fun scene. When you guys are having a great time, you're having a really great meal after being in the field, not eating anything or just cookies, whatever, what you have in the truck. But this is like a really a scene in which showcase a friendship and the friendship in a way that everybody accepts each other's weaknesses and strengths, and it becomes like one group. The whole scene is based about the group and nothing else. And I agree. I love that scene. I really totally really really excites me. It's still fun to watch.
Was that your philosophy throughout the other parts of making the movie, aside from that, of letting people improvise? Since you do have these just huge personalities, yeah, Bill Paxton, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and they're doing these scenes together. Were you okay with them just throwing different lines in there that weren't in the script?
Yeah, but only if they still would move the movie forward. I mean, sometimes they came up with sentences, or I mean, never long sentences, so that actually would help the scene. And then I definitely let them do it. I mean, that the screenplay is like based on a little bit how storm chasers talk. You know, we listened to them many times and we met them, and so it has had to resemble that. So, and those people talk nonstop. Basically, all of them, they all talk at once, and then and you pick up something from that, and pick up something from him or her. So it is a little bit like the same way as they would act in real life, and real. If they would have, if this would be all real storm chasers, they wouldn't talk much different.
Being that I have seen the movie over 50 times, I know every single scene down to the every single line. And for me, there's nothing I would change about the movie. I think it is a perfect film. But for you, now almost 30 years since it's been out, how often do you rewatch it? And is there anything you would change?
Well, it's a question that I've been asked many times. Is there going to be a director's cut? They always ask me, director's, what do you mean? Well, every big director makes director's cuts. No, everything's in the movie. This is my movie. I don't want to add anything. I don't want to put any deleted scenes in. We worked really hard to make this, and this works perfect. Why would you add scene or take things out that either already work and change it with something else? I mean, there was at one point there's some the studios were worried about that the audience would not understand the idea of getting those little balls in the air with the little propellers, and it had to be explained. Except they see it. They don't have to. You don't have to explain. They can see it goddamn happening. So why would you really have it seen and people explaining that? And I had to film it, but then also most of it we throw back out again because it was completely redundant. And because the whole thing is a little bit, it is not only a movie told by sentences, by dialogue. It's about the whole physical reaction of all the people towards what they encounter. It's their togetherness. It's their being upset or angry at each other, and then changing again. That was my whole goal. I didn't want anything that looked like a real movie, like a regular movie, I should say, not a real movie, like a regular where people sit down and talk. It's like even that's why they sit at the table, because they sit around the table, but then he stands up, another stands up, and he grabs over the table, give me some of that. So they all are doing things while they're having this discussion, this funny discussion, and that I love that. I think it's so good.
So there's nothing you would change, but what was the most physically, or not physically, but just the most like the hardest scene to just tackle that had maybe a lot of production elements to it, or was just so time consuming that you're like, that almost killed us, but we got it in there.
Actually, there's quite a few of those scenes. To be
Was it
honest.
because there's
But
a lot of practical effects too.
it was the special effects, like for instance, like when the combiners fell from the air and the tractors fell from the air, to really get that timing right with a helicopter really flying close over the cars, and this Helen and Bill driving the car, and they had to maneuver their way around. I mean, a thing would fall down, and it could fall down there, and they quickly would have to react and respond to that. So I was filming them at the same time as when it happened, so that I would have the responses to the real action in front of them. And of course I had such good relationship and with special effects. I knew it was going to be okay, especially the pilot. And I communicate with them, but I sat in the car with them too, by the way, when that happened. So you sit in a car and you measure, and then I knew how many seconds it would take to hit the ground. And then and when Bill heard me say now, they knew something was going to happen, but not exactly what yet. and then boom, the combine fell. And those things that was really cumbersome to set up and really hard with so many moving parts, and that was tough. And I was so happy that that was done ultimately. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate the time. I'm now going to go watch it for a 51st time. So thanks for talking.
Okay.